before, so worth noting that we are going to be reseeding every 2 rounds. Every 2 rounds, which means that we'll have the same players playing against each other twice, and then the best players will go on to play against the best players from the previous rounds. The players who didn't perform so well will get a chance to recover themselves somewhat, because again, even if you don't do so well in the opening rounds, you can still make it through. You only need to be in the top half of the field.
So, just trying to get my head around this one, because we've got a lot of the players from last time. In fact, it looks identical players.
It is the same players, yes.
Oh, I've misunderstood that entirely. My apologies.
Yes. Sorry, just to reiterate.
I think I just completely misheard everything you just said.
Well, just to get someone else in as well, because it was a lot to take in. So we're having basically 3 sets today. This is our first set we're in, which will be the same players twice over, reseeding afterwards to the second set, and then the last set to determine who will be our players who are going to squeak through. So what we'll be doing is, in this first lobby, this is kind of more or less random. In the second lobby, we'll be looking at our top one, which is all the players who won or came second in the first game. And then in our third set, which will be our final 2 games, we'll go for the players who are kind of on the bubble, who might make it through, but might also be eliminated.
My apologies, Counterfeit. You explained it perfectly, and I was just away in a different place. However, I am excited that we get to see almost the same lobby. Well, it is the same lobby that we just saw again, because it just means all of a sudden, cool, okay, we get to see whether that was a fluke for players last time, if it was just the 3-star Shoyu being hit that meant the victory. What we are seeing early on here is a couple of Tiny Titans coming in. So already 130 hit points coming in for Frozak and Missbullyz.
Yeah, nice little heal up there to put them on the top of the table. Let's stick a little scout around. So, unlike on the other broadcasts, except this is doing much more of a smaller production, so we don't have some of the pop-ups we would have had on the Rising Legends broadcast, so we'll have to do our best to gather information as we go. So we've got Thieves Stars coming for brubbba, Weak Spot we saw doing well, YLCL of course, our champion from the previous round. We've got Celestial Blessing, yes, as mentioned, the Tiny Titans turning up in multiple different places. Not one we necessarily would see coming in, as a massively high priority early on. What it will do for these players is make it relatively hard again for them to bottom 4.
That is a really important thing, especially for Frozak, who came 8th last time around. And if you're going to come in the bottom 4 2 games in a row, you're already put yourself in danger of being in one of those worst lobbies where essentially you've got to be picking up guaranteed victories near the end of the day to even have close number of points to qualify for tomorrow. Frozak's going to be the one to watch. Frozak's already taken a loss and lost 6 of those extra hit points.
Yeah, let's go and check out what they've got going on. So they've got the Mirage, and let's go and see what the Mirage is going to be. It's going to be Electric Overload. That's actually one of my favorite Mirages, so we'll just clear that out. And we've actually got a lot of Leonas in here for Frozak early on, so we might even see them, if they're feeling particularly spicy, actually try and run the Mirage, at least in the early game.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Certainly what they're going to opt into right now, but they've still got the options of pulling on things like the Senna if that's what they need to. This is a player who seems to be quite happy to mix around a little bit with potential compositions, but no, they're just going to mix it straight up, pop in 2 of the 3 Rage Wings early on, keeping the set on the side, and they're going to try to save a few more hit points this time around, but they're going to have to do it yet again against Nomsy. They always seem to face the Nomsies early on, Peter.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, once people find those early trainers, they will absolutely be on that Nomsy train, come hell or high water. Unfortunately for Frozak, falling victim to Joshy Chan in the early going. As you can see here, unfortunately with with Nomsy being so strong, these early losses, we talked about this in the previous game, if you've got your loss streak, that's fine, but you want to have the losses be somewhat soft, and that's not really happening here for Frozak. They've taken some pretty heavy early hits.
Can I ask you for your opinion on the tactical usage of Tiny Titans? Because I see different people saying different things about it. There are some people who are like, cool, I've got an extra 30 hit points. I'm just going to play this game exactly as I'd normally play it, stay as strong as I can, and I've got a bonus 30 health to work with. Other people say to me, hey, you know what? I'm going to use this as an opportunity to really lose streak, to make sure that I'm, getting that guaranteed losses, admittedly, but I'm able to save up my econ as much as I want to, hit the 50 gold early, and then I can power through knowing I've got plenty of health behind me. What do you make of that as a potential tactic?
I think, the big advantage of going for the loss streak style is it gets you out of the top of the table eventually, which is the big disadvantage of picking up early on, is that you're going to end up with the lowest possible carousel priority. So bringing yourself out of that position as quickly as you can would make a lot of sense. there is something to be said for trying to play as strong as possible. While you don't have a combat augment, you can somewhat make up for that by just leveling aggressively. I mean, you know, Frozak is, we can see they've spent all their money on leveling here, so that might be what they're trying to do themselves. Just, you know, while long term, missing out on a combat augment means their board will always cap out as weaker than everybody else's, you know, in the short term, they can just play as strong as possible and almost certainly make sure they hit top 4.
Bobon Spinner coming out early there, courtesy of having lost 14 health already, picking up that needlessly large rod, hopefully helping them towards some victories a little bit later down the line. Of course, it's going to be Missbullyz and Frozak coming out last, both of them having lost 10 of their bonus health. Missbullyz, however, has done that through a loss streak, losing a little bit less health each time, whereas Frozak did pick up that win, which is going to disrupt their streaking a little bit.
So yes, we are in game number 2. Apologies for anyone who's checking for eggs or drops in the chat. There will be none of that for today. As we said, this is much more of a smaller production, so unfortunately we don't have that kind of buying power behind us. But what we can do is we have got free roam to go and observe wherever we like. So let's check out what Spinner is up to. They've got themselves 3 trainers early on.
That is very, very nice for powering up that nom. So they're all at 1 star at the moment. So just going to be seeing the 3 biscuits going in at the moment. But even so, it's a pretty nice place to be. And they've got that tanky front line courtesy of a couple of bruisers. Love Shen in the early game. The steadfast presence blocking out so much potential damage.
Yeah, we can see there, you know, it does such a good job as a front line, especially when you've got the bruiser in there for a little bit of extra health to allow him to get off his ult. Unfortunately for Spinner, well, I say unfortunately for them, they're going to take the loss. It's actually not too bad of a loss. I mean, the mages here are pretty strong, and Spinner wants to be losing. So, they're doing okay. Maybe with 1 or 2 more hits from the units than we would have hoped for.
Having to play up against a couple of 2 stars there, where we saw that the Vladimir secured early on, definitely making things a little tricky for Bobon, but they're doing okay. It's not like they're completely out of touch with the rest of the field. Interesting to see YLCO, who was our victor from last time round, already win streaking, not having that single loss.
Oh boy!
Already with the early show you. This player has got a style they like to play, and they are sticking to it.
I mean, if it worked before, it'll work again. You see other people arriving on the board to say, let's see what our first place from last time round is going to do, because again, these players have played together in the previous game. I think seeing Xiaoyu this early has got to be sending some hearts thinking Hyunjin has got a chance to try and take YL's streak away, but I don't see it happening. There's Xiaoyu's so strong.
So strong indeed. However, this is our 2 win streak, as one of them is about to lose their perfect run heading in towards the neutral round. So far, decent bit of damage coming through from the Morellos on the Anivia. Lulu will play tank for a moment or 2, but it's going to come down to a 2v1 situation. Anivia trying to throw out as much damage as possible, but it's just not enough to rip through their health bars. It's going to be victory for YLCO, something they are getting accustomed to.
Yeah, I mean, playing strong. The way which YLCO is playing, it feels like the kind of play we'll be seeing in day 2, where only the top 3 players get to go through. You know, Wild's doing an amazing job. I think having the Archangel in there is such a great investment in the latter part of these fights, because you know, everything else being equal, that Anivia is going to clean up super well.
Undoubtedly, and that's what that last one came down to in the end. Even after the death of the Xiaoyu, it was the difference between the 2 Anivias. Even though it was a 1.5 item coming through for Hyunjin, it was just not strong enough to get through those remaining health bars. We'll see whether or not the Krugs are kind to YLCO. So far, everything else has been. They're going to get themselves a hand on the Chain Vest, which will help them towards that Titanic a little bit later on, and then pick up a couple of units. They can just sell for the gold, pick up a couple of Tarics for just for the love of Taric.
I mean, who doesn't love to be able to swish around the battlefield? We spent a bit of time on YLCO. We kind of know what their deal is. So let's keep on moving. So, we mentioned before, our 2 players coming into this game who need the win here the most badly are Bobon Spinner and Frozak, who came in 7th and 8th respectively in our first game. If they take another loss here, or another bottom 2, they are more or less out of luck when it comes to making it through to the second day of our qualifier. So we need to see big things from them, because as we've already seen with YLCO, and we're about to see again, the field of competition is very fierce.
Fresh is Hook is going to be a death sentence onto the Anivia, but crucially does not, onto the Ashe. It crucially doesn't tag the Anivia. This does mean it's going to be so much harder to rip through this competition YLCO has, and they are going to do yet more damage to our tiniest Titan. Frozak will take their third loss in a row. I'd be interested to see on Missbullyz whether they've actually been loss streaking this entire time.
I suspect so. No, it looks like the loss streak has been a little bit interrupted, which isn't ideal. We get to see what they're up to. So they're currently up at the top of the table right now, and she's going to take, yes, the world's most popular augment, the component grab bag. Really gives you a lot of direction for the game to come.
And a crucial time when that win streak was that loss streak was ended as well, just before the neutral round, does mean that Missbullyz wouldn't have been getting all that bonus gold coming through that one. Not the best of things for if you're playing that tiny Titan. Already these two players, Missbullyz, Frozak, who we focused on early on, picking up this augment counterfeit, they are already about to be overtaken by YLCO with their level 5 Xiaoyu. And I just want to echo something said in the chat by, and I'll apologize if I mispronounce your name, by Kalad Hiel, who says, wow, so Suryo at level 5, he's going to destroy the lobby. Yeah, that was pretty much exactly what went through my mind.
Yeah, and again, a quick, we'll go do a quick check on the Mirage again in a second. As, we've also got to take into account...
It's electric, isn't it?
Oh, that's right, and of course it is electric. We've also got our Shimmer Scale item coming here, so the Mogul's Mail, which will be a fairly consistent 2 gold per round for the MugSquared, with the chance of building up another Shimmer Scale emblem right now on their bench to potentially push through for a Shimmer Scale late game. We'll keep an eye on if that ends up being the case. They've got trainers as well. Does Mug, and Mug getting a win there from lower on the table means they should start pushing up.
Whereas Missbullyz now dropping lower and lower, down to 4th place after starting on the 130 HP. Not what our, I believe, 3rd place from last game would be wanting coming to this one. She's going to have to step things up a little bit quite soon. Meanwhile, talking about that Shimmer Scale, that opportunity through the spatula to get towards Shimmer Scale 9. It's difficult to get there, but when you do, boy, is it strong.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And do guys, let us know if there's any audio problems coming through. Again, we're kind of running the production ourselves here. So... there will all likely be problems. I can definitely assure you that Greyheart's mic is very good. If there's any audio problems, it's because of stuff on my end, not on his. So I'll do my best to see if I can figure out what's causing that. But
let us know what it is that sounds bad about it, because it might be something I can fix on my end. And if it's not, maybe Peter can. And if not, then yeah, I can only apologize for that. Maybe you just don't like my voice, and that's fair enough too.
It drives me crazy. I was had to request to see what Frozak is up to. Who has actually got themselves 2 duplicators on bench. Frozak is, again, one of the players who needs to do really well this game. If they can pick up an early legendary, they are going to go off huge.
There is a big amount of possibility there for Frozak, but much like what we were saying with Missbullyz, they kind of need to get that going soon, because they've dropped down to around about the same hit points as everyone else in the lobby despite that early augment. They want to see things starting to work for them pretty soon. However, they have been able to econ quite nicely. They are soon going to be getting a better pick from the carousel. Maybe they've played this Tiny Titans absolutely perfectly. Time will tell for us, and right now I'm interested to see just who's picking up what here.
We have got some pretty interesting units. In fact, Xayah being left behind. Let's take a moment, gentle viewers, to talk about our friend Xayah. So, if you saw the Golden Spatula Cup 2, you might have seen a testament to where Xayah is right now post buff. Is we saw a player managing to pick up a 3-star Xayah in a game, and they went 3rd. So, if that's your capped out, this is the best you can get, then it's understandable why not many of our players would want to follow that route.
Yeah, it's just it's a shame where even though Rage Wing itself is fairly viable, Xayah just isn't for whatever reason, and maybe something that we'll see change coming into the next couple of patches. But yeah, definitely not the optimum unit right now, as shown by the fact it had half a Rage Blade on it there, but was abandoned by all the sundry. And coming into this one, we're still following Frozak. They still are minus a Deja, which it feels like is probably the unit they're going to want to be able to use those extra champs on towards. And until they get that, it just feels like they're going to keep losing, and that's exactly what's happening up against MugSquared.
I think the one thing that keeps a lot of people from running the Electric Mirage is just, as you said, Deja is so defining to what Mirage does, and Electric just isn't a good augment for Deja at all, because, you get the effects of, because, you get the higher proc value on your front line, but Deja themselves doesn't become any stronger from doing it. You have to rely on your other units to get those electrics through, so I was fascinated to see where Frozak goes, just because, as I said, Deja, if they want to kind of have a strong sort of mid-game, find one Danger, turn into a 2-star Danger straight away, great. You're probably getting a top 4. If they want to get a win, which is, I suspect, what they would be really, really hoping for in their heart of hearts, they're going to be fishing for the Legendary, which gets them all the way to the end of the game.
Peter, we have people asking in the chat about whether people are out if they lose games like a couple of times in a row. And frankly, you explain it far more elegantly than I do. So I'm going to hand that one over to you.
So again, we've got the standard scoring system in place. 8 points if you win, 1 point if you come last, and the respective amounts of points in between. It's not as punishing as other systems where you maybe get 10 points for a win and 1 for a loss, but it still means, you know, for Bobon and for Frozak, our 7th and 8th place player, if you get 2 of those in a row, you are on the road to elimination. Only half of our players get to go through to the second day, so it's not the case that you are absolutely gone if you get 2 8s. It's just extremely hard to come back and make top 4. We'll of course be keeping an eye out for any player who does manage to do that, but I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't put your heart behind anybody who does poorly in these first 2 games.
Peter, we've had a couple of interesting things happen in our last couple of rounds before neutral. We've had Bobon turn their fortunes around from the bottom of the table to now win streaking. Our previous win streaker on 100 HP for so long, YLCO, with the early show you, has taken a loss now. So this lobby becoming a bit more compressed. Less than 30 HP separating first to last.
All right, let's get some notes down on what we've got here so we can sort of get our view. So we've got Bobon, who brubbba, who came in 5th last time round. So they've gone for Jade as well. Though it looks like the item set is... Let's see. Yeah, I was trying to figure out for a second if we would maybe see something else. But I think we've got an Ashe substituting for a Nivea. And we've got a Nunu substituting for a Xiaoyu. brubbba is at level 7. So we will be expecting him to hit fairly soon. But given that we already know that we've got, you know, Jade for YLCO, it's going to take them a little longer to hit and get their comp really rolling.
I know that they are currently in last place, so it feels weird to compliment doing so poorly. However, one of the things I do like to see here is the nice use of replacement units. Having a couple of Mirage, having a couple of Guardians being triggered, even though they're not able to get the Xiaoyu out just yet, means that they are at least still able to be quite competitive in these fights. They're still losing out, but at least they're taking down decent number of champions in advance. They're only taking small losses. They're just waiting on those key units, and they need to arrive soon.
All right, so let's check in with MugSquared. They're on the win streak right now. So Mug he did pretty well in game number 1, I believe. But hello, we've got ourselves some prismatic augments coming in. So these should shift the field pretty significantly.
Mug came 6th in the last game, so they're
my mistake.
Who probably needs to be pushing towards the top side of things at the moment, and that's exactly what they are doing with their current win streak. They've opted into finding themselves a really, really pretty item. Let's see which one they go for.
Oh boy, I mean... So this is something that I believe that you wanted to bring up, because we didn't see it on stream, but it has started to emerge more. So before we would be seeing a Corki, we now seem to see ourselves a Sona. Why is that?
Yeah, Sona's becoming basically the alternate carry, and it's more often seen with the Siphon than it is with the Idus, but because it's basically going into the Corki position, the Idus certainly makes sense as well. Basically, you're getting yourselves up to that double major, especially if you're able to get yourself a major spatula, part of what makes it more appealing. You're throwing out arguably the biggest CC you can for double early on. You're still putting down good damage. You can throw Morellos on there as well to get the burn damage. It's basically just providing yourself extra CC along with similar damage to the Corki. Okay, you won't fire quite so fast, but you're still putting out good secondary damage. It goes alongside the Siphon so nicely because Siphon itself does so much damage. I don't like it quite so much alongside the Idus the Siphon because the damage is slightly lacking, but at least you've got a Tristana here itemized to put down secondary damage.
So yeah, I mean, I like what we've got going on here. It does, yeah, as I said, it does make sense. I love to see the meta still evolving, even without, you know, necessarily big changes being made patch-wise. Mug is doing very, very well. 7-round win streak is extremely impressive. It's notable, though, that right now they actually don't have Mage active in their composition, so this isn't even the strongest version of what they're going to be putting out.
Yeah, I would have probably expected to see a Silas in there by now, and it's still possible that we see a change from the Shimmer Scale as they're not going towards 6th Shimmer Scale. However, well, give them a little bit of time, see how that one plays out. They may mix things around entirely. Frozak has dropped, by the way, from 130 hit points, as has been pointed out in chat, down to 42 right now. Things not looking good for them. Joshy Chan as well, who actually had a pretty nice time of things last time round, finishing up in 4th place, already slightly in danger.
All right, let's go check out what Frozak is up to then. So they have done what we were thinking they might do before, which is they found an early Shyvana and turn it into 2-star straight away. It's worth noting, as you see her getting killed by Yasuo, of all of the kind of legendary units to be able to bring up to 2-star, Shyvana seems to be the one that is most kind of obvious when you first come across her, but I've seen be the most disappointing when it comes to actually dealing with these late game boards. We saw it last time around. When it ends up in the 1v1 situation, Shyvana can't get the job done against some of these bigger endgame units.
And one of the problems is when you're in that final moment against Yasuo, because we just saw a tiny little glimpse of it there just before the final bit of health disappeared from Shyvana. But actually, and I admit my own perhaps slight lacking in knowledge on this one, an interaction I didn't really realize coming through from the last breath of the Yasuo is that ability to just hit time after time after time after time again if there's only one unit left on the board. And right there with Shyvana being the only thing surviving, and understandably so, just couldn't deal with the Yasuo at all.
No, so that's one of the things that's been sort of fixed more recently. The interaction has always been there for the Yasuo, but the more recent, it used to be that a lot of time he would get cancelled out of it, so it wouldn't actually end up working. It's like the cruel trait from the previous sets. If he's the last one standing, he will kill the unit. And unfortunately, as we've seen from the Shyvana sort of play pattern, she is kind of, she's oftentimes ending up being the last unit standing. And with Yasuo being so popular, it kind of ends up being that she just doesn't sort of function as a round winner. She only really functions as a way to keep your loss streak from getting worse.
This is not who Frozak would have wanted to be facing up against in such a crucial battle for health right now. We're getting closer and closer towards the dragon, which we saw Frozak go out before last time. That's not going to happen this time, courtesy of the Tiny Titans' extra 30 health, but still they're taking so much damage. Shyvana doing everything they can to fight up against the Siders, but getting caught out by the CC coming through from this Sona. It is almost certainly going to be yet another win coming in from MugSquared, continuing the win streak. Frozak dropping lower and lower, but I'm forced to eat my words because I thought that Shiv was dead. Shiv was not dead. Shiv lives. MugSquared loses the win streak.
Yes, if only we could zoom out very slightly more, we would be able
right?
to see. But no, TFT is planning to troll us the whole time by putting the round counter right where we would expect to see a bunch of stuff. So, I don't know. Fortunately, though, TFT is starting to get a little bit more UI attention as things go on. Shout out to the double up indicators for all of you double up players. We're getting some love. One day we will even get double up taunts, I have no doubt. Frozak is in trouble, but so is brubbba, who they'll be going up against next. brubbba is on the Jade train, and it's looking pretty reasonable, but not amazing.
It's looking okay. We'll come back to the damage it's putting out in a minute with that 1-star show you in comparison to the 3-star we saw in game 1. That's worth going back and checking out for anyone who wants to see what that does. I just want to give a shout out to Twitch chat. It's my first time getting to be here on the Teamfight Tactics channel. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, but thank you to everyone who was nice to me in that last fight. Yes, all the courtesy of the nice bug, all the health bars look the same, and also we couldn't even see the health bars. And to those of you who called me out on it, you know what? Fair enough, I give you that one.
Oh yeah, no, the Twitch chat will not let us get away with anything, but it does at least make us better casters as we go. So Frozak down towards the bottom again. One of the things we always like to do as casters is try and build up these kind of story threads that go through today. Right now, Frozak is our current focus, just because this could effectively be the end of their run in this game if they don't win.
Interesting option here.
Hello. We've got a whole bunch more items coming in.
Yeah, triple swords coming in. Want to see where these get built towards. Has the opportunity now for Deathblade and the Bloodthirster. We'll see where those go if that's going to be the option. There is going to be a pike coming through. They've already got one out there with that chalice on. We can see if they can build it towards a 2-star. Pike in itself can become a bit of a win condition at 2-star.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've seen some comps off screen managing to do exactly that. The last bit of itemization coming in. So we've got healing, a lot of healing there for Shyvana. We've got a chance to put a Deathblade on Yasuo as well if you want to do that. But, I mean, these are the last days of Frozak. If they can find just one more of the Pike or the Yasuo, though, they can put in yet another duplicator. I think I'm trying to remember if this was the player who had the 2 duplicators from on. No, of course it is, because they've got 2 slots Shyvana.
Yeah.
So they've had 3 duplicators so far this game. Good grief.
Yeah, that's certainly been lucky for them. However, not a lot of luck in terms of the victory they've been able to pull off. This is why they find themselves at the bottom of the pile. See if they can reverse those fortunes this round. Someone whose fortunes has also been reversed, seeing it called out there, is YLCO, who myself and others in the chat thought was just going to run away with this lobby, courtesy of the early Shouyu. They've now dropped down to below half health and are starting to find themselves in a little bit of a tricky situation. Bobon Spinner, however, they are the ones now tasked with having to deal with this almighty Shyvana, whose flame breath is ripping through all that it comes across. So Raka not able to find the second heal, losing that last bit of health just at the last moment, and Shyvana not able to deal with the 3 carries remaining. And that Idus, who was so damn tanky, Corky outpouring the damage from the back line. Bobon picks up a win, stays in 3rd.
So this is a chance to bring in a concern I had about Shyvana post her most recent changes. Pike 2 comes in, which is of course nice. It's that she's focusing her damage towards the largest group of units, and a lot of the time that won't be the backline. You know, so if you're pouring out the flame breath across the front lines, they're kind of, you know, they're built to take the damage, whereas the rest of your, you know, the backliners are the ones you really want to be killing. So I think Frozak's going to have some real trouble. Let's check in with YLCO. As you mentioned, they have dropped massively down. But one thing they have done, which we hadn't seen so far up to this point, is gone into the big lightning dragon themselves, Ao Shin.
Yeah, going to see the change away from the previously preferred Shouyu, and we want to see just what lightning can rain down, courtesy of this Ao Shin. They've already got a Yasuo targeting them, though, trying to put the damage down. They'll try to heal up. They've got the Gunblade doing some good work, but with that 1-star Ao Shin just not eating through the health bars enough, Bard will get stopped as they drop the Tempered Fate onto just a solitary Lulu. It's going to be a big win for Brubba and a hard loss for YLCO, who drops to 7th.
Yeah, Brubba's looking real good here. Frozak is currently fighting and winning against hyunjinbot, who's much further up the table. The Joshy Chan is left in the middle with our only win streak right now. And they have got themselves a fascinating setup enabled by multiple different emblems.
Interesting. They got the quad whispers out, and this is, I'm just trying to put my finger on exactly what is happening here, actually, because frankly, I'm a little confused with what they're trying to use as their primary carry. Obviously, they've got that Deja at the back, which is nicely itemized and has been whispered up as well. But what do you make of this one? Is this something, I mean, obviously, it's win streaking at the moment. Is this something that we could see taking this lobby?
Well, so it's a really good point being brought up by the chat as well, you know, further to what you were saying, that this is a Whispers comp without Siphon. As we see, other people are contesting Siphon right now. The question becomes, is Whispers a comp without Siphon? The obvious answer would be no, but Deja is going to do an absolute ton of damage here. As you can see, she'll scale up throughout the round. If she can get up to 2-star, she's stealing away so many stats with the Whispers. It's not quite as straightforward as a setup as, say, Revel Deja would be, but it's still got a lot of promise once you hit the 2-star.
Our lobby's only win streak is gone, though, Peter, which means that as we get towards a crucial carousel, we've still got all 8 players still in the game. The bottom 3 separated by 6 points. We have got MugSquared still doing pretty nicely up at the top, running, I wouldn't say running away with things, but got themselves a near 20 hit point lead. Bobon does pick up a win streak to mean that they are now potentially one of the favorites in this lobby. And this is a interesting carousel because we've got ourselves the Pike with the Sunfire on, not really optimal, but there'll be a Gunblade there for someone and a Resolve for someone else.
Yeah, we can keep an eye out on what particularly MugSquared and Bobon Spinner end up getting here. So, Hexa Gunblade you mentioned before. For Bobon, you can see they've not found anything remaining on the carousel that they're overly thrilled by. But I think, honestly, that was a pretty decent carousel for all told. I don't see a whole lot of items on there that were just useless. So, the whole lobby's power level should be going up roughly similarly.
Well, Frozak, who finds themselves at death's door, burning through all their gold, just trying to get anything else that they can. They've now used all of those duplicators. They've got an Edge of Night that they can pop out there should they want to, maybe onto the Pike, possibly just to output that damage even more and give an extra little bit of safety to such a crucial carry. However, this will be the fight which will decide, do they take a second 8th in a row?
All right, up against MugSquared, who knows them from before. Their mages are online, the trainers are online, Zoe in the backline as well. This is almost the final version of the comp. You see the massive stun across the field, but this is a team that Shyvana could potentially burn through.
It is an opportunity. However, the Pike is the one actually currently putting out all of the damage, able to fire off multiple times in this fight with those ultimates and death from below, enough to pick up such a crucial victory for Frozak, while Theo takes a loss and is now down to 4 HP. Previous victor looking like they may be on 9 points after 2 rounds.
Wow, what a swing that would be. And of course, it's amazing news for everybody else playing whenever a first place player takes an 8th, because you've lowered the amount of points it takes to get across that midpoint of the tournament considerably. If we had, people getting firsts in a row, then you just can't kind of compete with them. But now this will hopefully, for everybody else, be incredible news. Brubbba is on 4 HP as well, though, so YL, they're desperately looking for the Aoshin 2. They do find it, and they've got just enough gold to put it in if they sell up everything else.
And that's exactly what they did. And they were also able to put that TK out singular just at the last moment to bolster things as well. That's exactly what they need to give themselves a chance of taking wins against Missbullyz, who themselves is on relatively low HP, being on the bottom half of the board. While LCO trying to avoid an 8th place after their victory with the 3-star Shioyu. They managed to find a nice temper bait onto multiple carries. However, Nomzi in the platinum form doing well. There goes the Aoshin ultimate. It rips through Missbullyz' entire defense. And that will be enough to send Missbullyz down to 7 HP themselves. Brubbba is on 6 HP and is fighting valiantly away. Will they be able to find the victory? No, they will not. They get zapped to oblivion. They will be 8th place in this game, having previously found themselves a 5th spot.
Wow, that has got to really hurt. So Frozak managing to find themselves a winning streak from the bottom of the table, Spinner from the top. I think you're right. It's the Pike 2 difference. We saw this on some of our other lobbies, that even with a pretty random grab bag of items, Pike is still getting the job done.
It was a real random one that they got. It was that 3 BF swords, if I remember correctly, at Dragon, which seemed to have actually turned things around dramatically, along with being able to 2-star that unit. Now we've got ourselves quite an interesting lobby as we look at the players, probably from MugSquared through to Missbullyz, who are all playing off from 3rd to 6th. It does feel a little bit like Hyunjin yet again is going to be competing for top 2, and they're going to be going up against Bobon Spinner, who had a rough time last time around, but they have turned everything around in game 2.
All right, we'll do a quick overview of where everybody is right now, because we can. So we've got Spinner up in first place with their Idus Corki comp, but now with a Yasuo joining the field. Level 9 is very strong indeed. I'll switch across to hyunjinbot and see what they're up to. We've got the Corkis, and we've got the Siphon, of course. It's a classic.
It's a classic indeed. Big fight here for hyunjinbot. I'm trying to work out exactly which player they're going up against, as I think they're on ghost mode right now. And yeah, they're doing a pretty nice job of it, trying to keep these wins coming so that they keep themselves, I mean, a couple of seconds in a row, for instance. That's almost certainly putting you in a great place to go through to tomorrow. Yes,
and my apologies, of course, it's not the Corki, but the Sona doing the work here from the back line. You see, Siphon is working hard, but I think, that's one of the things to kind of consider when it comes to the attack pattern of the Siphon. Really, really amazing at taking out backlines, but once it gets past the initial fight, doesn't do as much sustained damage as you would otherwise maybe like. As Missbullyz goes out in 7th. That was a dramatic drop for her. That's going to be pretty disappointing, considering, again, how good the comps they've been putting out has been.
Yeah, they were 3rd last time round, so at least they got a decent chunk of points that time. 2 this time won't be pleasing them, though. Meanwhile, what we've seen here is this transition through to the Siphon from the Idus that we saw earlier on, and that last fight showed just how crucial it is to have that secondary damage coming out of the Siphon rather than having the Idus, because if that had just been, let's say, a 2-star Tristana or something putting out secondary damage, I don't think we would have seen that win coming huge.
All right, we get to see Joshy, as was well noted by the chat. The damage over time for the Deja here will be absolutely enormous, but it will take time. So keep an eye on where these 2 dragons are on the field. Siphon right now is a long way away from Deja, and that means Deja, she can keep on stacking up, and when she does get around to hitting Siphon, it should be pretty decisive. Let me see what a late round Deja looks like with Whispers.
Well, what happened there was Siphon was about to find the charge, was about to find the big hit onto the Deja, was killed moments before said big hit. That was enough to keep Joshy Chan in the game instead of dropping out in 6th place.
So we got Spinner down on 7 and MugSquared on 8. We've seen a big upturn of the table. So we can see Joshy's board looking good. Spinner, of course, they've got the good setup from before, and they're about to find a Yasuo too. So if this is the most they could really ask for as a late game board. It only remains to be seen whether it's good enough.
Peter, I know we need to talk about these players who are, at death's door, these single-digit players. However, can we take a moment to talk about Frozak? Look like they're about to find 2 8th places in a row. Suddenly they're healing up damage more than they are losing it. They are win streaking. They are healing. They are loving life. And right now they've got the opportunity to take out Joshy Chan. This 2-star Shyvana that has been doing so damn much will go dropping down onto that big clump of targets, finding a knock-up on 2-5, throwing the flame breath out, rinsing through Joshy Chan's backline. The danger surely can't survive this one, but it surely does. Out of nowhere, the last second, they tick through, they kill off the Shyvana. Frozak loses the win streak, loses all that regained health, drops down to 5 health, level with Joshy Chan, who just defeated them.
So we call this situation the tournament player's terror, when you've got a lobby which is MugSquared actually going out there in 6th. We've got a lobby which could turn entirely based on one round. Because, we've got the web of different matchups here. Your comp will do well against certain players, will do badly against other ones. So you don't even know who's going to be alive next round, and whether you can go 4th or 1st.
It is such a fascinating round to watch. Last time was interesting for the sheer dominance of the Shoyu. This round interesting for just the seesaw momentum that we're having. A lot of people asking about Mirage, so I'll let you know that it is going to be the electric bonus this time around, which probably hasn't been quite as dominating as you might expect. However, when you combine it with Whispers for that Deja, it is doing so much insane damage, and it's tough to see people stopping it. YLCO, who was early on having a bit of a rough time, having picked up the victory last time, has yet again turned things around. So much flip-flopping right now, it feels like there should be a fizz in the game.
Oh yeah, and we mentioned, of course, with health being such an issue right now, having the Shyvana, having the Soraka too in play is buying those extra rounds for YL. Right now they could maybe take a loss. Certainly in the rounds, a few more rounds of Soraka in, and they will be able to. Aoshin gets knocked up. We give Bobon the time to get going.
However, that's got all Tempered Fate catching out just as we were going to see. The Aoshin finally able to stack up, is still going to be able to shoot off the Lightning Storm despite the Tempered Fate coming through. The damage is good, but it's not enough to rinse through the health of Bobon. Aoshin will now get targeted, will not be able to find a second Lightning Spreader, and that will be YLCA losing every single bit of their health. Going out in 4th place, hyunjinbot losing out at the same moment, the same health bar. However, they lost out just a second before hyunjinbot taking 5th, YLCO taking 4th.
Oh my gosh, we've been extremely lucky with our games so far. So, let's check in with our 3 remaining players, all with less than 10 HP. So on one side, we've got the Whisper Deja comp, which we've talked about already, will win in a long fight. We've got Frozak here with a grab bag of strong stuff. They're going to be up against a Ghost, so let's go for the one-on-one. Bobon versus Joshy. One will stand, one will fall.
Fight to the death. Zephyr's going to knock up the Bard, who won't be able to Tempered Fate for a few moments. This buys a lot of time for the Whisper Deja to get firing, stacking up that Rage Blade. It's already up to 15 stacks, and it is ripping through the health bars. Things looking good for Joshy Chan. However, Nomsy's still alive. Corky's still putting down damage from the backline. I don't think it's going to be enough. Tempered Fate will come down, but it won't arrive in time. That last rocket does not connect. Joshy Chan stays in. Bobon goes out.
Oh my gosh. This has been such a good lobby, and bear in mind again, the players who finish high in the second game of the day. Oh, hello! I don't think Did we see? Wait, what just happened there? I don't even know what's going on. I'm
assuming that the Deja Ghost probably beat up its opposition, dropping the health bars. We were on 775 going into that one. Now